Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's kick off with the saga of a tenant whose downstairs neighbor called the cops over video game screams, music, family game nights, and then pounded on his ceiling over nothing but a few keystrokes. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Apparently my laptop keyboard is too loud for Karen's fragile ears. For the previous year, I've lived in a small apartment building with 8 people in total living here, and the whole duration I've had non-stop issues from the Karen beneath, and yesterday was the last straw. The last place in which I lived, I had never had any noise issues or complaints, so I will admit I kind of forgot this new place didn't have as thick walls, so I still as if no one was watching or listening, and when I played horror video games with my friends, I didn't hold anything back. Although I was never up past 22. She complained about that, and I completely agree that I was in the wrong and being loud. I've kept my singing to my workplace and try my best to keep noises contained when gaming with friends. Issue 2. Every other week, my mother and my uncle come to visit me to play board games and have a good night with dinner together. We all meet around 17 and cook together in the kitchen before moving to the living room and playing some things. She now complained that I was slamming drawers, being too loud with my visitors, and scraping chairs against the floor. Now I was starting to get annoyed. Am I not allowed to do anything in my own home? I thought to myself, and I know for a fact we weren't moving much in the chairs nor slamming drawers in the kitchen. Even so, we bought a carpet for the living room table and checked all drawers in the home, had little rubber dots on the inside. I also sent a very detailed message to my landlord about how I felt these issues were becoming way too ridiculous. Issue 3, and final one for now. Imagine this. It's 20 o'clock and you're sitting with your computer/laptop or whatever, and you're chatting with people over text. Suddenly you hear 3 loud bangs from below, thinking nothing of it and just continuing texting. 3 more loud knocks. Now you know it's deliberate. Ignore it again. 3 more, give them 2 stamps back and hear them shout something you can't quite make out. Then, next day, landlord contacts you and gives you a warning for being noisy and dragging a suitcase around. I was fuming, and I still am. How can someone be seriously bothered a floor below by the typing of a laptop keyboard? I was told that the complaint stemmed from another neighbor, so I went out and gently knocked on my next-door neighbor's door. No one home. Go downstairs and knock on my downstairs neighbor's next-door neighbor and talk. Do the same to the neighbor above me. Both give the 2 same answers when I ask if they feel like I'm noisy and what I can change to make it better. You're not noisy, not as far as I've noticed, and is it her? Without me bringing her up. Today I intend to ask the 3 other neighbors too. The second one I talked to even mentioned she was also the reason the last guy that lived below her moved out. In all my 14 years living here, she's the only one who's called for a meeting of all of us. So I'm intending to talk with the other tenants. If they do genuinely have a noise complaint, I'll see if I can fix it, even if I feel this is becoming extreme. But if it's not, and they give the same answers, I doubt the basement people can even hear me from my floor. I'm contacting the landlord directly, since they seem to be treating me unfairly based on the 2 neighbors I've already talked with. Update. I've gathered written statements from the other tenants confirming I wasn't noisy. I submitted them along with a detailed timeline of Karen's complaints and my responses to the landlord. The result? The landlord finally stepped in. Not only did they apologize for acting on her solo complaints without context, but they sent Karen a formal warning. They let her know that further unfounded reports would be considered harassment. She's also been asked to attend a mediation session if she wants to continue making complaints. You protected your rights without stooping to petty retaliation. And now you have the landlord's formal support. Enjoy the peaceful evenings, keyboard clacks, board game laughs, and all. And our second story. Don't turn on our natural gas boiler in winter? Fine, we'll use electricity. My ex-wife and I were both students near Calgary, Alberta, and rented a basement suite that the landlords had converted from an unfinished basement and garage space. Rent included utilities and internet. The only problem, the house was on a boiler, and when they walled in the suite to separate it from the garage, they installed the thermostat in the garage instead of the suite. This led to several problems the following winter. Every time the temperature got below minus 10 degrees Celsius, about 15 degrees Fahrenheit, our suite would plummet to 12 to 14 degrees Celsius, 54 to 57 degrees Fahrenheit. We brought it to their attention each time, and for 12 to 48 hours after that, it was a balmy 20 to 22 degrees Celsius, 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit in our apartment. This kept happening, though, and we kept complaining. After the 5th or 6th time, we told them that we couldn't even keep things comfortable with a space heater. We added that it would cost a few dollars a month more in gas to heat our apartment properly. Running a space heater would cost much more than that. They apologized, and once again we had heat for a couple of days. Then we had a cold snap, and the temperature dropped to minus 40 degrees Celsius, minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and our apartment plummeted to 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. We were so cold that we started wearing our coats, not just sweaters or even jackets, inside. That was the last straw. So my wife and I decided to stop complaining and take matters into our own hands. We bought a large box fan, opened the oven, and placed the fan on its door. We turned on the oven and within an hour or two had a reasonable 19 degrees Celsius, 66 degrees Fahrenheit in our apartment. We kept the temperature around 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, 64 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the cold snap, about 2 weeks. Some warm weather followed for the next few weeks, and then we got a knock on our door. It was the landlord. Turns out their electric bill was $650, up from their usual peak of $100. Now, something to know about the law in Alberta: if utilities are included in rent, you cannot charge the tenant for overages, whether reasonable or not. You can only sue if they were willfully negligent. I pointed this out to the landlord and they threatened to sue, idiotically believing us to be the negligent ones. I replied that I'm sure a city inspector would be happy to hear about your illegal basement suite in which you didn't even have the decency to install a thermostat, and how, as a result, we've had to endure temperatures closer to freezing than the room temperature, and then threatened to countersue and finished with, "Who do you think is going to win that fight?" Suffice to say, we had a nice, cozy, and reasonable 21 to 25 degrees Celsius, 70 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit in our suite for the remainder of the winter. How hard is it to install a thermostat in the actual living space? Especially when it's, Canada in the winter? When your tenants are wearing actual coats indoors, it's not just an inconvenience, it's practically Arctic survival. And our last story. Neighbor trespassing and hunting on my property. When my wife and I bought this house 2 years ago, we thought we were signing up for peaceful country life. 2 lots, front one with the house, back one a little slice of wild, wooded area. Technically, the front lot is in the city, the back in the country. It's about 2 acres of uncleared woods. Nothing massive, but enough for me, a nature conservationist, to foster native growth and feed the local wildlife. I've been slowly managing the land, planting, pruning, even set up a wildlife camera about 15 feet up a tree near the back line to catch glimpses of deer, coyotes, and the occasional raccoon with an attitude problem. A few weeks back, I hiked out to swap the batteries on the camera, and it was gone. The camera, the mount, the antenna, cleaned out. I also found evidence someone had climbed the tree, notches in the bark and scratch marks from climbing sticks. I chalked it up to maybe being off my mark and decided to check again in the daylight. Next day, I head out again, rifle slung, just in case someone was using my land as their personal hunting lease. Sure enough, I run into a guy in full camo, no blaze orange, walking like he owns the place. I start filming. I ask him calmly what the hell he's doing on my land. He stammers something about having permission from the owner of the woods to the west. "Oh, you mean my land?" I show him the clearly marked property line, purple paint, corner markers, everything surveyed and filed. He apologized, said he won't come back, swore he didn't take the camera. Okay, cool. Maybe this was just a misunderstanding. Nope. The next morning, I walk out and find her handiwork, my neighbor. Let's call her Tammy, owner of the West Side Horse Farm and reigning queen of entitled land grabs. She nailed no trespassing and no hunting signs on my trees lining my side of the property line. These weren't tucked into her fence line or facing her side. No, these were nailed with righteous conviction into my actual trees on my actual land, as if I wouldn't notice or care. Tammy seems to think that if she stares long enough at my woods, they'll become hers. This isn't the first time she's tried to push boundaries either. She once told my wife we shouldn't encourage deer to linger because they might spook her horses. Lady, if your horses are afraid of a few deer, maybe the rodeo life ain't for them. We'd had a professional survey done when we bought the place. I'd painted purple markers on the trees, legally recognized in our state as a no trespassing warning. But that didn't stop her. So I got serious. I installed a new trail cam with GPS and cloud backup, mounted it even higher, and pointed it toward the property line. And it didn't take long. 4 days later, I caught Tammy in full HD glory, trespassing again, pulling down one of my signs. She even had the audacity to wave at the camera. Big mistake. With video footage, timestamps, survey maps, and a printed copy of the law, I marched myself down to the sheriff's office. The deputy took one look at the footage and said, "Yep, that'll do it." Turns out Tammy had a history. This wasn't her first boundary dispute. Between the sign moving, repeated trespassing, and the stolen camera incident, yes, I pressed charges. The sheriff's department took it seriously. She was fined for criminal trespassing. She was slapped with a cease and desist order. And when she ignored that and came back the next week to yell at my wife over the fence, she was arrested. I showed the deputies the footage of her climbing my tree to remove my signs, and they charged her with property damage too. And just for fun, the county came out and did a surprise inspection of her horse farm. Turns out she was out of compliance on 3 different ordinances, including animal waste disposal and fencing violations. She's now facing thousands in fines and may have to downsize her precious stable. Oh, and remember how she wanted my woods for quiet grazing space? Well, the county also approved my variance. That subdivision of my front lot, it's now home to a 24-hour doggy daycare and boarding facility. I went all in, permits, fencing, and the loudest outdoor play zone allowed by code. It's a chorus of howls and barks every morning at 7 a.m. like clockwork. Tammy sold her horse farm 6 months later, couldn't handle the noise, or maybe the lawsuits. Either way, she's gone. Sometimes the best thing you can grow on your land isn't trees, it's consequences. You didn't respond to Tammy's entitlement with tit-for-tat vandalism or angry letters. You simply reclaimed your own land with clear markers, high-tech evidence, and the right paperwork. By mounting that GPS-enabled camera and documenting every incursion, you turned her amateur tree-nailing theatrics into undeniable proof of criminal trespass. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.